Hi, my name's Shomit. I hope you're all well. The reason I'm talking to you today is in light of recent events, Shantanu asked me whether I could share some best practices on how to navigate the Bramble website and how to get the most out of it. So, maybe for a bit of background on my side, I've been a maths tutor primarily for the last few years, working with the Tutor Doctor platform while I've been studying maths at university. Um, the the intensifying workload meant that I stopped conducting as many face-to-face sessions and I started tutoring online more, which felt fit my schedule best. This has meant that I've been using the Bramble platform for a few years now, and I thought maybe I could share sort of an overview on how to navigate the website and maybe some best practices to make sure that your lessons are as best as possible. So just to get started with, the 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 navigation toolbar is at the bottom, and you'll see a bunch of icons that are pretty self-explanatory. For example, if I want to draw, um, I'll toggle to the pen. Often when I'm doing maths and I'm writing an integral sign, for example, to find the integral symbol when typing is pretty difficult, but it's often just easier to draw this out. uh, I find that when I'm explaining something or there's a key definition or idea, it's better to type. This is partly because time is limited. You want to focus as much time as possible on actually teaching rather than writing something out or typing it out or getting to the point. You'll see next that we can share resources from previous sessions. This is really handy if there is questions that you'd previously discussed that you want to bring up and you don't want to go through all of the documents that you have saved on your computer. If you do want to do that, it's pretty easy to access from your device. Alternatively, the tool that I use the most personally is this, which is taking a screenshot of something and then just pulling it into the lesson itself, which is really easy and it can save a lot of time as opposed to getting through all your files to get to the right place. Then we have the camera icon, which means that if you want to actually be face to face with your tutee, that is possible to maybe explain something or just generally show something that you can't easily write out. Uh, next we have this, which is just sort of an overview of how many pages you've used, how long the lesson's been, which is good for sometimes tracking how long the lesson's been going on. I know it's easy to sort of forget when you're teaching how long you've been teaching for, which is very handy. This undo feature is very handy also in sort of avoiding having to erase everything manually. And finally, the most important part is the emailing a copy to you and your student, so to make sure that you have a copy for yourself so you can refer to it, you can learn from it, the student can learn from it, and it just makes tracking lessons a lot easier. So for some best practices, I thought the first thing I'd start with is something pretty obvious but maybe worth just mentioning, which is just try to make sure that your materials are organized for easy access before you start the lesson itself. What that means is that you don't want to be sort of taking screenshots or finding the right bits and pieces to pull and drag into your page while the lesson's going on. That can waste a lot of time for the tutee, which means that they don't get as much out from the lessons. It means it takes longer for you to learn. So on both of your sides, it's a win-win situation if you have all the materials in place, ready to drag in when you need them. The next best practice I would mention is obviously just try to make sure that your lessons are as interactive as possible. There's a whole host of different things you can do with this. It just means that you can make sure that not only is the lesson engaging, but it's the similar experience to being face to face with the tutee itself. The last best practice I would mention is sort of make sure that you're overcompensating. What I mean by that is that it's hard to replicate the experience of being next to a pupil and teaching them. And often, when you don't have direct face to face contact with them, it can mean that subtleties of how they react to a question that they don't understand can be lost, and you can accidentally move on from something that they haven't fully quite grasped. So I try to make sure that before I move on from anything, especially when I'm online tutoring, I'm really driving home whether they understand it, whether they have fully understood every single idea on the page, whether there's anything they need me to clarify. Obviously, this is sort of a common practice when teaching, but I think it's even more so important when you're you don't have direct access to them. I think that covers all the best practices I can think of right now. Of course, it's definitely an experience that it'll take time to learn about. It took me definitely a few months to get fully comfortable with using anything. If there are any questions that you guys have or that aren't clear, then feel free to email me here, and I'd be happy to pick up the phone or have an email conversation on how you can get set up and how you can make sure that you're getting the most out of this service. Thanks for listening, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.